everybody. Lisa Starr here with another episode of StarrCast on the road. I am joined by two people. I'm here in Vegas at the HSMAI. We'll tell you what that means in a minute. Quarterly meeting. Reina Herschdorfer, Director of Sales and Marketing for Caesars Entertainment, and David T. Stevens, Wellness Architect and founder of Olympian Meetings. HSMAI is the Hospitality Sales and Marketing Association. I didn't know there was one until about a month ago. And they're delightful people who run meetings. And we are here in Vegas having a meeting about how to have more wellness in your meetings. So what better conversation for a StarrCast? So first of all, thank you for taking time out to join us.
Thank you, Lisa.
Let me begin by asking you both to tell us about how you started in the meeting industry. Reina, let's start with you.
I was a hotel major, so I've been in the hotel industry my entire life. I have lived in 5 countries. I've worked in, I think, 3 countries. Been with Caesars Entertainment for many, many years. Always in sales and marketing. And the meetings industry for at least the last 20 years.
Okay, long time.
Yes.
She has a tough gig.
Does she?
Well, she puts on events for events people.
Right. So they're probably pretty
And
good.
we're a judgy bunch.
Right.
We always, we're looking at, what would I do differently? And blah, blah, blah. So she has a tough
So
job.
kudos to Reina.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It can be a challenge for sure when you're putting on events for people who do this for a living.
And David, how did you get into the events industry?
I worked a trade show as a sales rep. So back in the late 1900s, as the kids like to say, I lived in Silicon Valley and I was part of the .com boom, the very first one. And I went and worked a trade show. I was in sales for an internet service provider and it blew my mind. I was like, what is this thing? And I met our event planner who had built the booth and did all the things. And I was like, oh man, I got to get into this. This is way more interesting than just hucking internet. Long story short, I stayed in telecom because it paid the bills for a long time. And I side hustled working for my first paid event job was for the XFL.
Oh, the XFL. I remember
The first one where Vince McMahon put it together. And then I went into radio and long story short, I've been in every aspect of meetings and events and conferences and left corporate 2.5 years ago.
And started your own business. Good for you. And you're based in Austin, Texas, and Reina, you're here in Vegas.
I'm based in Las Vegas.
So part of the reason we're having this conversation is because as part of global wellness initiatives, Reina and David have started their own initiative on wellness in meetings, which is sorely needed. I mean, we know those of us listening who go to wellness events all the time, we're pretty good at incorporating wellness in, but we realize we're a very small percentage of the meeting business. And Vegas is the meetings capital of the United States. And so there's we're in Caesars Hotel right now, and there's all kinds of meetings going on around us that have zero wellness happening. And David and Reina would like to change that. So they've started an initiative. It will be announced today. What will the name of it be?
It's the Meetings and Events Initiative.
Okay. Well, that's short and simple. Okay.
To the point. I think one of the things that's interesting about this initiative is when there was an initiative briefing call where all the different initiative chairs were on the call. And I said, have you ever been to a conference and you left feeling trashed or you felt worse than when you got there? Everybody on the call went, yeah, we know that feeling. That's what we're trying to change. We're trying to change the way people leave events by changing the way we treat them at the conferences.
Well, let's think about it. You go to an event, you have really scheduled, there's limited time, you understand the constraints, it's money, the more time you take, people are away from their jobs. You have the welcome reception, like Kim was saying the evening before, you have your keynote in the morning, you have your breakouts, you get some food along the way. Maybe there's a healthy option, maybe not. It's just rush, 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 and you don't have time to breathe. And it's important and you learn things, and yet you leave feeling depleted.
Right. And I also think you leave not necessarily remembering everything that you learned because the pace is so fast. You're going from one thing to the next. There's not really a time to reflect and to absorb. And even the people that you meet a lot of people, but how many authentic and genuine connections are you really making?
I was saying earlier that we don't design events for nervous systems. We design, or humans, we design them for robots because
So true.
a robot can perform task after task after task with the same operating function. Humans don't work that way.
True enough. So we managed to get what we can from the event. We learned some things. We meet some people, but it could be much better if we had a different mindset.
If we had a different intention, we love that term, intention, in the wellness space. I sat down with a shaman once and she said, well, that's no different than in a business objective. Business objective and intention are the same word or the same motivation. They're just different words, but one is business speak, one is wellness speak, so to speak. And we just have to take a step back and think about what it is we're really trying to accomplish. And if the decisions we're making along the way are supporting that or undermining.
We were speaking this morning about how the way you have wellness at an event is you have the 6 a.m. yoga or a run. And then, the people who can straggle into that do, but that's it, right? And so what David and Reina are aiming to do is sort of incorporate wellness throughout the event. So let's talk about some of the ways in which you might do that.
Well, I can say, for example, with HSMAI, it's a quarterly meeting, and we incorporated wellness by having breathwork. 5 minutes of breathwork every time we had a meeting. The first time that I brought it up as an option, there was definitely a pause by everyone in the room.
And they're like, right?
And there was a lot of questions about this. Does this really make sense? And then I was able to convince everyone that let's try it. Let's see how it's received. And after we did it the first time, every time now, it's now part of the program and it's become part of the norm.
Is that because people wanted it?
Not initially. I think initially they didn't really understand it. They didn't really know about it. But once they experienced it, they realized that once they did the 5 minutes of breath work, they were able to receive the information and connect differently with the people around them. So they felt the value. And now it is just part of the norm, which is really
It's amazing how that happens. Well, it helps you to feel centered, slows down the heart rate, everything else.
And guess how much it costs?
Not a lot, I'm guessing.
Next to nothing. I mean, your breath is free.
Right.
Right.
You just need a guide, and that could be anyone.
That's especially with like a 5-minute pause. But the impact that has on the outcome of the event is right on par with what executives want to see. They want to see higher retention. They want to see people learning more. They want to see people paying attention. And if you ground people in the moment, they're present.
I also think that what it does is it brings the human element back into a meeting, because when you're at a meeting, it can be a very competitive environment. It can be very much an environment where you're positioning yourself. You're thinking about what your business objectives are. But sometimes you miss the whole point, which is really the connections, the real authentic connections that you make. And I think that when you're pausing, whether that's breath work or any type of pause, it changes the dynamic.
I think maybe it was Kim Kopetz in her breakout. I heard her saying that she runs events, large events for thousands of people, and that people would say, well, there's not enough time for networking. It's not in the schedule. And it's like, you're supposed to be doing that the whole time. It's not like this 5 minutes is when you meet people. But sometimes our attendees just need structured direction.
I think also a commitment to white space. I don't see networking time necessarily, unless it's a facilitated networking session. That networking time is really flex time, when people can either debrief on the sessions they've been to, brief each other on the sessions they've been to, call home, whatever it is. But if you eliminate networking from the entire agenda, then it removes free time for the participants to do what they need to do. And if they don't have anything else to do, then they can be present and talk with each other and get to know each other a little better. But I think just cutting it all, while I appreciate the context, I guess it also depends on the size of the event. Because like IMEX, I don't think IMEX has any dedicated networking time, but they have a lot of functions.
What is IMEX?
IMEX is the International Meetings and Events Expo.
Okay.
I think.
So it's for event professionals.
Right. It's the largest convention for the conference industry in the world.
Okay.
17,000 people come to the St. October's.
Okay.
And I also think that networking can happen just like today when you have interactive session. That's an opportunity for you to network, because now you're talking about something that you're both interested in. And you're, again, connecting on something that makes sense for you.
Let's talk about what we did today. I mean, so we're at the HSMAI meeting, quarterly meeting. There's about 130 people here, then professionals from Las Vegas. And
Hospitality professionals,
thank you. We had a panel presentation, and then we had activations. So let's talk about that, how that worked.
Reina, you should take this since this was, I feel like
Sure. Well, the way the activations worked is that we color coded them. So in the corner of each room, we're still in the main room. We had behind the badge, everybody had a color so that they knew where to start the activation. And we had an activation with a speaker, which was Kim Kopitz with Opus. Opus is one of the largest experiential marketing agencies in the world. So she was able to speak about what it means from a client perspective. Then we had Rachel with Numa Labs, and she was bringing it really back down to smell, scent, just really something more olfactory, I would say. And then we had David. You spoke about the meaning of meetings, and well, maybe you can talk about that.
Well, we had a group discussion.
Yes.
About the business of wellness and how hospitality professionals can be getting their fair share of the approximate 900 billion. I know it's 894. It's 6 billion. Come on. $900 billion wellness tourism industry, and engaging, getting ideas from different people so that they could compare notes about what this property is doing or what this other property is doing and how they might be able to do it. But then there was one more, right?
Then there was one more, which was more of a hydration station. So really speaking about the different beverages and really bringing it home to hospitality, because beverages don't have to mean soft drinks. Beverages can mean so many other drinks that are available, whether it's kombucha, whether it is adding mint, as somebody mentioned, to sparkling water, whether it is adding some type of a citrus juice, really experiencing that and then changing the dynamics. Because if you're eating healthy, you're drinking healthy, you feel better. And if you're feeling better, again, you can engage on a different level.
Well, I thought it flowed beautifully. The groups went around as they were meant to. We had a gong, a nice sound gong and to mark the time, not an alarm. And two of the stations were experiential. They were drinking things and talking about it, or we were smelling things. And that gets everyone talking, to your point about the networking. So you are meeting who you're sitting with at the table and you're having an experience together. What better?
I think it's an interesting energetic curve as well as you work through the room, because each session had its own energy, and it wasn't lecture. There was different levels of engagement and group chat and things of that nature. So it kept participants engaged and they were only 10 minutes. We should also call that out.
Right.
With them only being 10 minutes, it kept people fully attentive.
Right. When we were planning it, we were a little concerned would 10 minutes be the right amount of time? And I think when I was observing everybody participating, I think 10 minutes was actually the perfect amount of time, because it provided them with enough information, enough interaction, and then you were ready for the next.
Yeah.
So it was a really nice balance.
Oh, we got a lot in less than an hour.
Yeah.
And then closed the session with a sound bath. And Reina had thoughtfully made available floor seating with backs, little meditation stools on the floor. And we had a lovely sound bath. And that seems like it lasted 15 or 20 minutes. I mean,
right. It felt a lot longer.
Felt so good, after, to just kind of zone out. So I think the attendees really got to experience all the different varieties of wellness that there could be. Oh, and let me speak on the food. Delicious and healthy food offerings, little yogurt parfaits, fresh juices, really artfully prepared, vegan options.
Yes.
No, I've never seen an avocado cup before.
That was the cutest. Little avocado cups, and you use, what's the word? Customize them with shrimp proteins or different toppings. Yeah, that was really, really clever. I love that.
Yeah, very, very well received.
So would someone listening say, that sounds great, but these things cost more than your usual meeting?
I would say piping copious amounts of content is costing you more than anything else. The person who thinks that if I just have these participants drink from the fire hose of content, because there's no shortage of places that you can get content, you're undermining your own outcomes. So It's going to cost you more in the objective of why you're gathering people to not do wellness and integrate it holistically into the program than it would otherwise.
Because
Too much content, all of a sudden, I mean, we've all been there. You know that you aren't going to remember things when you're constantly under duress and it's one thing after another. You get no time to process. You're not fed the right foods. Everyone's gone out to the bar the night before.
and not having mocktails.
Everybody shows up hungover the next morning. They're not paying attention. They're trying to find a breakfast burrito or something.
Yeah.
You're trauma bonding these people. Then they roll into the session. If they show up at all, they're not paying attention. You fed them a bunch of carbs, so they're good for about 30, 45 minutes. Then their blood sugar crashes, as opposed to feeding them and taking care of these people where they can actually maintain an attention span. You're undermining your own objective by not caring for these people.
And I would also say you don't need to do everything. You can incorporate a couple of elements into the programming. You can start small.
Like we didn't have to do all of that.
Right. We didn't. I mean, like I said, for the HSMAI meeting, we added just breath work, 5 minutes of breath work. And then we make sure the food and beverage has wellness elements, because not everyone is looking for wellness either. So you want to make sure that you're incorporating it, but that you have a wide array of offering. And the same thing when it comes to activations. You don't need 4 activations. You don't need 4 wellness speakers. Maybe you need 1. And I think you can start small and you can see how your audience receives it. And if your audience receives it well, they'll let you know. And then you know to incorporate more. And then you'll start seeing what the value is and what it brings to you.
You're so right. It's not this, you have to only do wellness and all of a sudden it's a wellness event instead of a business event. It's about starting and trying things. And it's just like fitness and spirituality and everything. You just got to start with something. And then you adjust along the way.
And then I would also add, it's about mindset. It's really about what is it that you're hoping to do? Why are you doing it? Where are you going with it? And then bringing it into the fold. And I think it becomes in some ways it becomes organic, because the people that are participating in the conference you'll see what that engagement looks like.
So let me ask a question as someone who is not meetings professional. If you have a meeting at your venue, you want the venue to shine so the people who organize that event ask for you again next year, right? I mean, but they're bringing the attendees. You're not bringing the attendees. So your job is to put on a great event so that everyone says, we want to go back there. Yes?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's where it's great that Reina and I sit in different positions, right? Especially with this initiative. Reina's with the property and she wants events to come back no matter what, right? It's creating such an easy experience for the planner that they're like, I can execute on this. You guys are so supportive and helpful. And my attendees left energized instead of exhausted. We like, that's it. Our conference is going to book 5 years in a row at a Caesars property. My job as an events agency is to try to deliver that no matter where we go. And that gets a little tricky because not everyone is a Caesars property. And sometimes they don't understand the wellness. So trying to mix those two things together is the special place. And that's why just trying something is so important. But usually you can talk to whatever venue you're at and you can come up with something to start moving the needle.
Well, I can say, as having been to many wellness events, that some places are better than others at doing the food, doing the little touches, making sure, we talked about the room. I mean, you want your attendees rested, and comfortable rooms that have blackout curtains and don't have lights blinking all over the place and don't have sounds from next door go a long way to making sure people have a good night's sleep.
And Lisa, we launched Wellness for Meetings about 3 years ago now. And then we recently launched a wellness guide. And the wellness guide is meant to help planners plan wellness within their conferences. It talks about the whys, the whats, the hows. And the goal for us was really to make it easier for planners to incorporate it, because planners are under so much stress themselves that if we can make it easier for them, they're more likely to do so.
So what was the impetus for you, Reina, starting that wellness meeting and option?
Well, a couple of things really. And David and I have talked about this before, is coming out of COVID. Everybody was challenged, including myself. And during COVID, I became very active in yoga, so on my personal wellness journey. Then coming out of COVID, when we came back to the office, our company started a lot of communication about mental health, about physical health. And the two together made me realize, hey, we should do this for meeting planners and make it easier for them. Because if we were able to have wellness at meetings, we can bring this to the broader world. My hope is really that everyone in the meeting and events industry will incorporate some form of wellness, and that wellness becomes the norm, a little bit like what CSR was a few years ago. It was not always part of meetings, but now it's become a standard.
Well, good on you. That was very innovative at the time. I mean, did your bosses at Caesars say what? Why are we doing this?
Actually, I was very, very fortunate. I reported up to our chief sales officer, and when I mentioned to him that I wanted to do more with wellness, he said to go for it and move forward. And I have a lot of autonomy. We were already sponsoring a wellness challenge at some of the conferences, which is with an app. So that was really the starting point. And then, like I said, we now have a wellness menu, a wellness guide. We sponsor wellness columns. And then we recently launched a wellness newsletter. And this goes all out to meeting planners.
And you sponsor a wellness-focused podcast.
Yes.
We do, David. Yes, we do. And it's an amazing podcast.
Very good podcast. So do you have any data on how that has performed? Have those meetings been as profitable or had a return rate or whatever you measure in your industry?
I have to say, I think we're still at the infancy stage, so I don't think we're quite there yet. But I think that with the initiative that David and I will be part of, that'll be part of what we would like to roll out as well. Because if we can measure this, of course, it will help us grow this initiative.
Well, you did have that one. I remember from our conversation, they did their wellness event here in 25, or was it 24?
24.
24. And you had a piece of business read book for 3 years in a row after coming to that.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So so you can say I wouldn't say that we had a report per se, but we can definitely speak to the fact that it is resonating with meeting planners.
Good.
And I mean, even insofar that I think I mentioned to you earlier, we hosted a DEI summit. We added a component of wellness, just 5 minutes of breath work. And in the next year, they asked for 45 minutes.
That's a big jump.
It's a big, yes. I was very excited about that.
So let's talk about the initiative. Like, what do you hope to accomplish in this initiative under Global Wellness?
So year one, we are going to be introducing a framework. So we've been very fortunate that we have some incredible industry leaders from the events industry joining us. We have someone from an agency, a global agency, Opus. We have someone from the Incentive Research Foundation joining us. They do all the research around the incentive industry.
Mm-hmm.
We have someone from the International Conference and Congresses Association joining us, their executive. We have someone from Meeting Planners International joining us. And then we also, remember that big event we mentioned earlier, IX?
Yes.
We have the head of their programs joining us.
Wow.
So we have this collective brain trust that's going to come together. And what we want to do is take, to a certain extent, kind of like what you've done, but create a framework for any meeting planner out there or for a wellness professional that's planning an event so that they can follow a framework to deliver something in a meaningful and intentional way, but that's also guided and informed as opposed to just having to guess their way through it.
And I think what it will also do is it will help communicate it to the broader industry. I think at Caesars Entertainment, we've done a great job in communicating the importance of wellness for meeting and events. But when you can take it to a global level, when you can take it to international organizations who then have their own ability to communicate even further, it will become that much more the standard. And I mean, it will change our culture.
Right, sure. And I would imagine that people who are planning meetings aren't averse to wellness. They just don't know how to do it or what the options are. So you're going to provide a framework that...
Yoga at 6 a.m., remember?
Yeah, right.
Right. I mean, and that for a long time, I mean, people did really think that if you had yoga at 6 a.m., we have wellness, we tick the box. And it just doesn't do it, because in reality is when you have a conference and you have yoga at 6 a.m., if you have 1,000 people, you might have 30 people show up. And that's just not enough. You need to have it much, much more intentional. We had a conference in December with American Express, 1,000 people, 500 meeting planners from around the world, 500 hospitality executives. And because we were the sponsor of the conference and we hosted it here in Las Vegas at Caesars Forum, we were able to convince the leadership to incorporate wellness into their events and really make it part of the programming. And it was incredibly, incredibly well received. But for right now, we're still in its infancy stage. So we're still at the stage where there are those who aren't sure. Is it worth it? Is it something we really should be doing? Why should we be doing it? Think similar probably to when companies were incorporating wellness into their cultures. In the beginning, they weren't quite sure. Is there going to be a return on investment?
Right. Well, I showed some data earlier in our meeting that, there's a great return on that money, and it drops employee absenteeism and sickness. It increases productivity. It increases engagement in work, makes people happy. I mean,
Stock price.
And to David's example. So some of it's anecdotal, but some of it is definitely trackable. I mean, if you have a healthy staff, they're going to come to work and do a better job.
Right. And then we also know with Gen Z in the workplace now, it's becoming even more important.
Yes, our Gen Zers are not 40-hour-a-week people.
They're not.
And maybe, who knows, that may be, they'll live longer than we will. We won't be around to know. But supposedly, we grew up as work being sort of the center of our life, and you kind of fit around it, and they don't have that idea. They don't have that approach. And
I say good on it.
yeah, I'm
So do
thinking
I,
maybe it is. Maybe it is a good look. We'll see. Ask us in 20 years how it's working. So what will happen with the initiative? You'll have your announcement, and then what do you think happens after that?
If I were to get pie in the sky with it and speculate wildly, I think you and I actually already talked about this. We put a blog post up on the page about some of this stuff. I would love to see meetings and events become part of the global wellness economy. Let's say making the bubble chart.
Right.
Because I have a sneaking suspicion and one of the reasons we've engaged some of the people we are, is we need to understand what the financial implications of the meetings and events industry is. And then as we start understanding how deeply incorporating wellness into meetings and events happens, we will start to see wellness-centric meetings and events become its own category. The meetings and events industry is like a $2 trillion industry, I think. So to understand what part of that is leveraging this and then start understanding their outcome, I think we will be right there next to workplace well-being and understanding not only how much investing in this space means, but what kind of impact we're leaving on people.
Maybe it's part of workplace wellness.
I mean, I think it depends, because I think there's events like Comic-Con that could be leveraging wellness.
Mm-hmm. But
Yeah,
it's work for the planners, though.
True.
I mean, it's an employable thing, right? I don't know.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very speculative, but I would see this making it onto the bubble chart.
Mm-hmm.
That's my time.
So do I. I agree. I think it actually will. It's a matter of time.
The macro level of this is, I sat down with the executive director of the World Federation of Public Health Associations. And she said, you think you're doing wellness at events, but what you're really doing is public health. And when you pause and think about it, which I didn't want to when she told me that because it was terribly intimidating, you're gathering 50, 500, 5,000, 50,000 people, and you're responsible for their health and well-being for the course of a day, 3 days, a week. And the decisions you make, and these wearables are selling us out.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knows if your meeting or event is helping or harming them because they get a report card every morning on their phone. How'd you sleep? How many steps did you get yesterday?
Right.
All these metrics, right? And that informs planners of if we're really truly caring for people or not. And if we aren't caring for people and we are harming them and undermining their health, they're going to go home sick. They're not going to feel well. They're not going to want to come back. And then we're undermining the outcome of the event. So I think this all comes together in one big thing of hospitality and taking care of people when we bring them together. And the entire industry is going to move towards that, hopefully.
And conferences are the number one place for adult education.
Are they? Conferences are.
One.
Oh.
So if you think about that, wellness fits right into that as well. Also, they are also the biggest spend, the marketing spend for most companies are events, conferences, and events. So again, since workplace wellness is important, bringing it into conferences, it ties together. But I do think that they are different. I think the objective is similar, but there's a little bit different nuance.
I agree that workplace wellness should continue in meetings and events.
Right.
Because a lot of times what I have seen is if a HR team or whatnot is planning the meeting, all the wellness that they do in the office goes out the window. And they're like, let's party till 1 a.m. and we start at 7 a.m. And like, it's like everything they talk about at the workplace is out the window when they could be perpetuating that at their events.
I also think, though, that NA, so NA drinks are becoming the norm. That's part of wellness. It's tied into that as well.
We need mocktail options, and it shouldn't be just special. I mean, I like wine. I'll have a cocktail, but I don't want it every night. And when I'm at an event and there's nothing but that or water, it's not very fun. Like, give me a fun option, and then I'm happy, and I get to the session on time.
Same thing with wellness foods. I mean, there was a time when it was commonplace to just be serving Danish and cookies, and that's it. Not even fruit.
Let me ask you about wellness in meetings. Do you see a time when people say, I want the meeting with the wellness or the one without, or is it just baked in all through?
I would say meetings tend to be customized. So every single meeting is different. They're not packaged, at least not in the United States. In some countries, packages are a big factor. And I think if that's the case, I think wellness, it could be that you have a wellness meetings package. But in the United States, typically everything is customized.
We say that we're the world's only wellness first events agency. I want to lose that marketing because I just want to be an events agency and incorporating wellness becomes normal. I see this a lot like sustainability was 15, 20 years ago, where there were these green events and being responsible with the resources you use is considered common practice. And that would make me really happy if wellness became the same.
Yeah, and we can actually provide reports for CSR to be able to show the client how we impacted the environment, how we impacted the community. So perhaps at some point there would be reports as well in regards to wellness.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. If you have data you can capture. I know. I remember at one of the breakouts, someone was talking about charity. I work with an association called We Work Well. We do hosted buyer meetings. And one hallmark of our events is that we always do a local charity event. And we make lunch bags for kids or pack, homeless people's supplies. And everyone does it. Takes a half an hour. And you feel good after you did it. So that's kind of a wellness too, although it isn't necessarily more than purpose. But remember, that was one of my 5 pillars, is like that you felt good that day. It wasn't physical or spiritual, but you did something with a good
Connecting to something bigger than yourself is always a win. And if you can incorporate that through a CSR activation, or I even, to use my corporate language, I even say building OKRs, objectives and key results, with your teams at a sales kickoff is connecting you to something bigger than yourself. And that gives people that sense of purpose.
So we recently had our national sales meeting. And we had wellness speakers, our food. We had a variety of wellness foods. We had the NA drinks. We did have meditation, different aspects. But the meeting was a national sales meeting, and nowhere did we mention that we were incorporating wellness. We just incorporated it.
I love that. I mean, that's why Caesars is a real trendsetter in this area. I mean, good for you for looking ahead. It's just like, this is the way you have a meeting. And then people can say, wow, that was easy. It was woven in. I feel good. Let's do some more.
And I think the more you ask people, the more they're actually looking for it and wanting it. It's just that it was not available in the past.
True. I mean, you saw the data I showed on the slide. I mean, wellness, everyone wants wellness. There's no one you're going to ask, would you like to be well? And they say, no, that's okay. I'm fine without any wellness. Everyone wants it, but like you said, they don't know how to get it. And you certainly don't think about it in a meeting context, because we've all been going to meetings for years that run the same way. Pastry, cocktails, the whole thing. And it's hard to change what people are used to.
Right. And it's like event design, which was Kim was talking about that. I think the event design is a big piece of that. When you're thinking about whether that's incorporating wellness, CSR, charity work, it's designing it, it's the timing. Sometimes it's better to have less programming than more, but more meaningful and more impactful.
Right. And more chances for networking and meeting others, whether that's through a sense of discovery at the mocktail bar or in an organized way when it's an agenda item on the schedule. But we do go to meetings to broaden our networks as well as our minds.
We sure do. We sure do. As a matter of fact, I would say that it's predominantly about networking because we can broaden our minds so many other ways now.
True enough.
And when it comes to the difference between a live event and an online event is when you're at a live event, we have the energy that we feed off each other. We can have more, I think we can have more organic type of conversations and the more opportunities that we provide attendees with different types of experiences. It gives them a chance to speak about and talk about something else.
You also know it's real. With AI and deep fakes happening, their in-person events are becoming even more important than they used to be. They will be, I will dare say, they will be the only trusted source of information outside of like your personal friends and family. And even then you're going to be like, well, where'd you hear that? Especially if it's a little out there, you're going to be like, did you see that on the internet or did you actually hear someone say this?
Well, we did get to learn about those virtual events in COVID, right? We all went to conferences where we had to do it online and they had I went to a lot just to see how they did it. And they had breakout rooms and they had networking and they really tried hard, but it wasn't the same being there in person.
When you're in person, I had another guest on the show tell me, and she's a human performance PhD. When you're in person, you exchange electromagnetic fields with each other. When you're within 3 feet of each other, which
we are right
yes,
now.
yes, we are. But it changes. And if you've ever, for people who don't believe that, when you're a kid, inevitably you walked in to the room when your parents were having a fight and they stop having a
right.
You walk in and you're like, what's happening? You can feel that energy. It's palpable. And thank goodness during COVID, we didn't have the deep fakes and AI that we have now because you wouldn't have known anything.
True.
What was accurate, what was not accurate. I mean, this guy just got sued and imprisoned for like attending 18 months of Zoom meetings with an avatar where he never went once. Like, that's the level of things that are happening online, and in-person events it is going to be the trusted source of information.
What people will do to get out of going to a meeting, huh? How hard is that?
Also,
sit on Zoom?
18 months to catch him. None of those meetings were that important.
Oh, that's something. How many meetings happen in Vegas every year, Reina?
Oh, that's a really good question. I mean, I would say thousands and thousands of meetings. We are the number one meeting and events destination in the United States.
50,000?
No. Oh, let me see. Let me think. We have 10 properties. So we have just
Caesars.
So, I mean, I would say, yeah, probably. I mean, if I were going to put a number at it just for Caesars, I would say maybe, I don't know, 50,000 over the course of a year. And then you have the rest of the city. I mean, so hundreds of thousands of meetings.
The opportunity is huge for you and your initiative to spread that wellness word into the meeting industry.
And it can be small meetings, can be large meetings, right? And trade shows are starting to incorporate wellness as well. I had a trade show organizer reach out to me asking me if we wanted to do a wellness pavilion. It's starting to become something that people are curious about.
Excellent.
And who doesn't want their brand affiliated with taking care of people and rejuvenating?
Yeah, I can't imagine who would do that. David, tell us a little bit about your podcast.
Sure. So it's called Return on Wellness, a lot like ROI. When I started it, I was still a corporate event marketer. I was in-house. I planned meetings and events for technology companies, big data companies, and I did not come up with the name. I was on someone else's podcast, Liz and Nicole. They have a show called Barefoot Business, and we were talking about the business value of wellness. And she's like, oh, so like instead of return on investment, it's return on wellness. And I was like,
there you go.
That's it. So let's call it that. We're in our fourth season that we're going through right now. And it has been fantastic. We've had Susie Ellis on from the Global Wellness Institute. We just had Sean Hess on, who is the founder of Eudaimonia, which is the world's largest wellness festival that takes place in the Palm Beaches. We've had MDs, we've had PhDs, we've had MD/PhDs, we've had a sleep doctor on. The whole design behind it was to empower planners to have a resource so they knew how to communicate to their executive team about why this mattered and why this was important and why it impacted the business. It wasn't about the warm and fuzzies or the anecdotal things. It was, how does wellness impact the bottom line of the company? And so that's where we started. And this all started because I did an event in 2022, right after the pandemic, where we offered some very basic things. We started at 9:30 in the morning instead of 7 or 8. Our breakfast and lunches were 90 minutes.
Wow.
We offered a variety of movement classes in the morning. So we had like a boot camp, we had yoga, we had mindfulness, we had breathwork, a bunch of different things. And then all of our sessions were no more than 20/30 minutes. I think a couple of them were 30 minutes. And then we looked at our food. We made sure the food was going to be nutrient dense and inclusive, so that if there was people that want to eat healthy, the front of the line has a pasta salad and a green salad. And the end of the line had fruit and cookies. So that you could choose, you might go green salad so you can have a cookie. You might go pasta salad and then have the fruit, whatever you want to do. And then in the evenings, we labeled all our late night stuff after 9 or 10 o'clock optional, to give people consent to do what they did. And the net promoter score came back and we went from an 87 to a 94 on average. And this was for 400 people.
Right. So you said, okay, we're on to something.
And it was like, okay, there's something here. And all we had to do was take care of people. We didn't have to change our venue. We didn't have to do any of those things. And it was very, very simple things. We just changed the way we did the things we already did. And
I was going to say, I think that as our culture is changing, not just in meeting and events, just in general, I think that the meeting and events industry is changing along with it. Because wellness, as we all know, is one of the fastest growing trends for people. So it just makes sense that when you're having a meeting, that it's part of it.
Perfect sense. Well, welcome to the Global Wellness family, both of you. We look forward to seeing what your initiative does. And thank you for taking out time to join me for StarrCast. We will tune in and watch as you progress.
Thank you,
Lisa.